Hi everyone, my name is Stefanny Florencia. I'm an English language education student in State University of Surabaya. Today I'm going to tell you about one of some methods in English language teaching method. Did you guess it? Grammar translation method? No, it's direct method. In this video, I'll divide into 5 sections. The first one is the background of direct method. Then the second one is do's and don'ts in direct methods. And the third is basic principles in direct method. Fourth, techniques in direct methods. And last but not least is advantages and disadvantages or criticism to direct method. Alright, let's jump to the background of direct method. Direct method is also known as natural method, phonetical method, reform method, and anti-grammatical method. In this method, teachers directly implement the target language into teaching learning process. So, the native language of the students are prohibited in this method. You got my point? So, when and how the direct method forms. In mid and late 19th century, the industrial and international trade and travel are increased. It means a communicative ability of foreign language are increased, but grammar translation method inadequate and ineffective in developing communicative ability in learners. So, pedagogists and software suggest a new method called natural method. This method lately came to be known as direct method. Alright, so here are some do's and don'ts in the direct method. Don't translate, but teachers should demonstrate. Don't explain about it, but act about it. And teachers are prohibited to make a speech. They let students ask questions. Students never imitate mistakes, but they correct it by themselves. They never speak with single word, but use sentence. So by doing that, the students will get used to know the use of words in every context. So you got my point? Teachers prohibited to speak too much, but teachers have to let students speak much. Never use book, but teacher should have their own lesson plan. Teachers are prohibited to jump around, but only follow their lesson plan. They never go too fast, too slow, speak too loud, but they only do it normally and naturally. Then, don't go too fast, but keep the pace of the students. Okay, let's move on to the basic principles in the direct method. There are some basic principles in direct method. First, classroom is conducted in the target language, and teachers are not allowed to translate the target language to the native language, but they have to demonstrate it. For example, here I have a pen. I will not say what this thing called in my native language or in my student's native language, but I only say this is a pen. This is a pen. They will see it and think, oh, that's pen. in Bahasa, we called it as ballpen, maybe. For example, like that. Second, basic vocabulary or everyday vocabulary and sentences are given first. Third, vocabulary is taught through known words, demonstration, authentic objects or realia, pictures, and also mimic. Remember, the goal in the direct method is communication ability. So we have to make students understand about basic vocabulary and everyday vocabulary and also everyday sentences to be used in everyday conversation. Next, grammar is taught inductively. There may never be an explicit grammar rule given. So, for example, the teacher will ask the student to tell story about what did they eat yesterday for dinner. Then the students will says, yesterday I ate fried rice. Then the teacher will says, it should be yesterday I ate fried rice. Then the teachers will let the students figure out the rule by themselves. So the students will know that the formula of the sentence is subject plus verb to then plus object. And the teachers will not just say it's subject, it's plus verb to, it's plus object, and so on and so forth, but they just give the example of the correct sentence and let the students figure out it by themselves. Fifth, new teaching points are introduced orally. It means that direct methods use oral transmission. Sixth, both listening comprehension and speaking comprehension are taught in this method. Because the class are conducted in the target language, it means that the students get used to listen in the target language based on what their teachers are saying. And they also get used to talk or give a speech in the target language because they have to do conversation or ask questions and answering questions in the target language. 7. The teacher, by asking the students to make a choice, gets him to correct his own error. This is called learning by self-correction. For example, like this, the student says that yesterday I ate fried rice. Then the teachers will says, is it eat or ate? Then the students will think, which one is the correct one? Then the students will says, oh miss, or oh ma'am, I think it should be ate because I said it that it was happened yesterday. Then it means that students already correct his mistake by himself. Got it? Next, correct pronunciation is emphasized. Remembering that direct method is more focused on communication ability, which is listening and speech comprehension, it means that pronunciation is also emphasized because the teachers should be able to speak in the correct pronunciation, and the students also, because they get used to listen which pronunciation is the correct one, they will be able to speak in the correct pronunciation. Or the other possibilities is maybe the students, if they have some mistakes, they make mistakes in pronouncing some words or sounds, the teachers will correct them. syllabus is based on situations or topics and not based on linguistic structures. This means that direct method using contextual or topical teaching. 10th, students should learn to think in the target language as soon as possible. Because remembering the purpose of language learning is communication, therefore students should be able to think in the target language and also learn how to ask questions as well as they answer them in the target language. Now let's jump to techniques we use in the direct method. First, question and answer. With these techniques, teachers will give some questions in the target language to the students, and the students have to answer the questions that given by their teachers. It also can be students give questions to their teacher in the target language, and teacher will answer them as well as they will answer their teacher. Second, dictation. So in these techniques, the teachers will say some sentences or read a passage perhaps, and the students should be able to write down what the teachers are saying. You got my point. For example, the teachers, he or she read aloud in front of the class. This morning I ate pizza. And it will be repeated in 3 times or maybe twice only. This morning I ate pizza. Then the students, they listen to their teacher, right? And they have to be able to write down what their teacher are saying. Next, read aloud. In these techniques, the one who read aloud is the students, because in dictation, the one who read aloud is the teacher, right? And the students will be given some paragraph or a passage perhaps, and they have to read it aloud in front of the class. And then if the students read some words in the passage in a wrong pronunciation, the teacher should be able to correct them. Fourth, student self-corrections. So, teacher should have students self-correct by offering them a choice between what they said and the correct answer. For example, in my previous explanation, the students says that yesterday I eat fried rice perhaps, and the teachers will says, I eat yesterday. I eat, really? Is it eat or ate? Then the students will think and they will make a choice and they will correct it by themselves. Fifth, conversation practice. So because the class is conducted in the target language, it means that the students should be able to ask questions to their teacher in the target language. It means that we already implement these techniques indirectly, so the students are able to have a conversation in the direct language, even if with their teachers or their friends. They should use target language in the class. Sixth, map drawing. So in these techniques, the students will be given a blind map and they will give name to the objects in the map by the directions that given by their teachers. Seventh, paragraph writing. because the students are get used to listen and also give a speech, and they already do a read aloud, so they are now asked to write a paragraph with their own words in the target language, and they can use the passage that they read aloud in a class as a model paragraph, and they will observe the grammatical structure for their passage based on the passage that they have read. Okay, so now we get into the last section of this video. This is about advantages and disadvantages of direct method. Okay, the advantages of direct method. One of its positive sides is that it promises to teach the language and not about the language. Do you see the difference between teaching the language and not about the language? So teaching the language means that the learners are able to use the target language, and not only they know the structures or the grammatical things, theoretical things about the target language, but they are able to use the target language in their daily life. Second, it is natural method, which is the way target language are taught is the same as mother tongue taught. Do you got my point? I mean, like, we learn our mother tongue, our native language, only by listen and speak it in daily activity, right? Because our parents, they talk in Bahasa, they always they have communication with us in Bahasa, so we used to understand Bahasa, and we know what is the meaning of our parents are saying. And this is also happen to the direct method for the target language. Third, it emphasizes for some people who need to implement the target language in communication. So yeah, they are not only been facilitated about how to use grammar and blah blah blah, but they cannot speak and listen properly to the target language. But direct method, they emphasize them to be able to listen and give speech in a proper way in target language. Fourth, it is the first method to teach vocabulary through realias. It means that vocabularies are taught in the daily conversation, and that's how the vocabulary of the learner will improve. Next, the criticism or disadvantage of direct method. In the direct method, because the class are conducted in the target language, it means that teachers should have a native-like ability to communicate in the target language. In private school, this might not a big problem for them because they can recruit a native teacher or native-like teachers. But in public school, they will have some difficulties to recruit native speakers or native-like teachers to teach the students how to use the target language in a good way. So that was the criticism to the direct methods. Alright everyone, I think that's all about the direct method. I hope you learned something from my video, and see you